Here we go. Good morning, Tony Dattino. Another Friday. My goodness, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays just come and go as fast as anything does in the week, and we're already into the second week of August. So time's going by quickly, and as time is going by, September 28th is on our calendar, and we watch that date for the 25th USA Memory Championship. So that's exciting. But I wanted to talk to you today about two of the events that we have at the USA Memory Competition, and how those have come about and how we put those together and what we're testing in terms of people's ability to remember. And if you step and think about networking or social interaction, people are constantly meeting new people in business, in their personal lives, in their families, in restaurants, shopping centers, and sometimes they want to make friends. And when they want to make friends, the first thing they want to remember is, gee, what was the name of that person that I met? Or what was there something that I remember about them? Or did we see them by a certain aisle, in the candy aisle, the cookie aisle, or the produce section, and learn what some of their favorite vegetables were, or some of their favorite fruits were, or cakes. So when we started the USA Memory Championship with HD Net Television, which was Mark Cuban's station at the time, we wanted to create an event that the home audience could follow, and they could see people themselves and say, God, they have introduced me to a person on TV, and the person gave their name. All right, will I be remembered? I'm a home TV audience now. Will I remember their name? They gave me a address of where they live, so that required some numbers in a street and maybe a city, state. When people tell me where they live, do I remember their address? Can I remember where they live, what the town and the city were, or even the state? They told me their phone number if I wanted to reach them. They thought we were good friends, and they had a phone number. Let me call you back in a few minutes. Yeah, I'll call you back in a few. Yeah. Ev, so they wanted to, yeah, I'm just doing my Zoom. Can I call you back? Good. Can I call you back in about 10 minutes? Can I call you in 10 minutes? Yeah, no, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. Oh my goodness, it's somebody trying to reach me and they're trying to get to that. I'm sorry for the interruption, but let me see if we can pick this back up. So we're trying to remember things that are in list format. So can we remember several things that are listed? Can we go back and just think of the three things that they saw in the produce section, or the three things that they bought in the candy aisle, or the three things they bought in the milk and dairy section? So we would create a list of things. So we use a technique similar to remembering words, right? And so when I talk about words, so how do we remember words? So like the milk and the ice cream and the butter and the eggs, the yogurt. So we would give lists of things. So what we were doing with the Tea Party is integrating a series of different items that people would have to integrate. Names and faces, numbers, locations, list of items, and we created that event and we called it a tea party. Now initially we called it the cocktail party, but then we had some parents say we had some teenagers in there, and I think we should call it the tea party rather than the cocktail. Oh, excuse me. So that's how the tea party came about, and it was a hybrid of different skills. Now again, we go back to memory skills that would require people to use all the things that they demonstrated in the qualifying events. So we had an event to qualify. Can you remember the names and faces of people? We had a qualifying event would be strings of numbers. So could you remember their address? Could you remember their phone number? Could you remember their zip code? we had an event called Words to Remember, which is a list of words, and could you remember the sequencing of 200 words? And so we integrated those elements into one consolidated event, and we called it the Tea Party. Now, what would we have done? We'd have somebody, we'd find, first of all, we found 5 people that would be willing to volunteer. We'd give them a pro forma, we'd give them something to give them a pro forma and say, okay, your name, your phone number. So each Tea Party guest was consistent in what they were giving out. And what we wanted them to do is then get on the stage and meet the mental athletes that were part of the competition and introduce themselves. So my name is Tony Dattino. I live at 8116 Jaylene in Windermere, Florida, zip 34786. If you want to reach me, my cell phone number is, I have 3 favorite foods that I just love to eat. I do have a couple of hobbies. I love to take cruises. I love to play golf. And I love to do crossword puzzles. And so the next person would get up. My name is Evelyn Walker. I live at XX Lafayette Road. My zip code is 10538. I love to play golf. I love to swim. And I love to spend time with my grandchildren. And so we would bring 5 people up with that type of information, one at a time. We'd send them off stage, and we would randomly in a hat, we'd pick out 1 to 5, we'd pick out number 3. And so number 3 would play with number 3, please come back out on the stage. And the first mental athlete would have to give the name. Then the second person would give their address. The third person may give their phone number. The fourth person may give out their favorite foods. The fifth person may give out their favorite activities. And we would keep going through the mental athletes, and at that point we would have 6 of them, because we would have what we call knockouts, and so we'd be at 6 with the Tea Party. And we'd have knockouts, and therefore if you missed 3 pieces of information on these 5 people, you would be eliminated, and we'd now take that down to 3 people for the final event, 2 decks of cards. But that event has become so popular because the audience, whether I get emails now or live audience members, how are they doing that? What skills and or techniques are they doing to remember a name? And by golly, they're remembering phone numbers, they're remembering zip codes, they're remembering addresses. My God, here's what I do. I use my cell phone, and I do all of this in my cell phone. So I don't need to use my brain, which in the science community today say the dumbing down of Americans, people using cell phones, and what will that do to their brains in the long term in terms of building what we call the interconnections of dendrites and neurons, and how that helps them maintain cognitive fitness at an older age in life. So this is what's going on in the world today, and this is what's happening in terms of the Tea Party, it becoming such a popular event. Now there's a second event that we also find people interested in, which is what we call Words to Remember. And the Words to Remember are fascinating because we give them 200 words to retain. They have 5 minutes to remember they have 15 minutes to remember as many of those words as they can. And that is a skill that we teach people to when they're reading paragraphs and information. How do you underline the key words in a sequence of what you may be reading for comprehension that you can then trigger and go back and retain, so that when you put this literature back down on the table, you can walk away and say, I remember what the key points were in the research, the studies that were done, where those studies were done, what the results of those were, and what their conclusions were. And that information just sticks as you use a method we call the loci method, which is a way of saying the location of where I've anchored pieces of information into my brain that I'm able to then hook additional information to And therefore, when I want to remember what I read in the article, I just walk myself around my anchors, the things I've locked in to my memory, and I'm able to then make the association and connection and recall the information that was important to me in the literature that I read. So those are just two things. I'm trying in my Live with Tony's, I'm trying to at least go through some of the memory skills and memory techniques since we're in 25th USA Memory Championship season, and I'm trying to think of what the events are and some of the skills that the mental athletes are using. In between all of that, I'm still reading, and so when I find articles that are like, pow, this is a great article, I'll continue to bring those forward over the next several weeks. So with that, I am still in New York, still dealing with rain and heavy winds. We've got Debbie, I guess, showing up here later today and tomorrow. So I will continue to watch the Olympics. I guess it's a good time for the Olympics to be on, since people will be staying home and having a chance to catch up with how different people are doing in the different events of the Worldwide Olympics. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.